Alright, so I'm fixing this oud, and the top is caved in a bit because some of the braces are separated from the top. And it's something that happens from time to time. So I've already started to re-glue the braces, and also to push the top back in place and replace some of the decorative edging around the top. And one of the things that I really like about fixing instruments is all these creative ways that you can come up with for bracing, not bracing things, but like gluing things back together. And one of my favorite things to do is to clamp a stick to the work in some way that it doesn't impinge on or damage the instrument, and then use the clamping force of the bent stick to hold something in place. So I'm going to take this off. I glued this yesterday, but I'm going to take this piece of lath off of here, this clamp that has cork padding, and take this piece of lath off of here. And I just used a block of wood to exert some extra pressure on the area that I wanted to clamp. And I also put a little piece of waxed butcher paper there to keep the glue from sticking to the block. So here's the area that I re-glued yesterday. Some of this decorative edging right in here was missing, because it's basically the only thing that holds an old oud top to the oud. It's a very thin top, and there were some cracks in the edges here that I glued back together and reconsolidated the whole area and the decorative edging. So now it seems pretty solid. The reason the top pulled up is because the oud has a series of braces that go across this way, and the braces engage the ribs at different points, and that is kind of like the only thing that's holding the top to the ribs. The decorative edges are kind of going along for the ride. If you look really closely right there, you can see that one of them is missing, and you can basically see oh, there we go. You can see inside the oud. Like if I stick my finger in there, you'll be able to see the end of my fingernail coming out of that. Let's see. Well, maybe my fingernail's too fat. Okay, there we go. So you can see my fingernail sticking in there. So it's a very, very precarious ledge, and there's a lot of pressure that the strings exert on the top of the oud. So you got to make sure that the braces that are lateral across the top are hitting the edge. From time to time they break away, so you got to get in there, figure out which ones are broken away from the ribs, and re-glue them. So now the task is to replace this missing edge, which unfortunately was lost at some point when the player was out playing out. The owner of this oud's a professional oud player. And there's another one over here. So the same issue, you saw that piece of wood that I was using that was bent with the block. This wiggly area right here that you can see that it's loose, and if I put my hand inside, I can kind of wiggle it up and down a little bit. Maybe I don't want to do that too much, but you can see it. This is what that piece looked like that I glued yesterday, and I'm going to use the same bent wood trick with the block to reconsolidate this whole area right here. The only problem is that I don't have this stuff, so I'm going to make it. So I'm going to make some of this stuff, and I'm going to come back and show how I glue it together. So this oud also has a funny guy inside. I don't know if you can see the picture of him. I'll get a light in there later. There's a picture of a guy with a fez inside. It's kind of typical for an oud to have. There he is. There's the fez guy. It's a really old picture. And then there's a blotch of brown stuff below him. a previous repair person did a really bad job working on this oud, and they mixed up some sawdust with some old animal skin glue of some kind, and they plopped it all in there, and it smells like a camel took a dump in this thing. But there's really nothing I can do about that, and Tom knows that this thing is kind of stinky. But it has such a good sound, it doesn't really matter if it smells bad. It's a bad smelling, good sounding